Days a lot of men wondering, they want to have, they want to be in a they want to be in a, say, committed relationship, whatever that commitment means, and then they have at the same time a sense of adventure, and they think it has to be either or, and if you do it right, you can have both. You can have both a great adventure, very committed relationship, and feel strong honor because of it.
Many young men, they're looking around at the older men in their life, and they're seeing men with broken spirits. They're seeing either a man who gave up adventure to be good and be honored, or gave up his honor to just have wild adventure. And the true challenge, the true greatness is in really consciously choosing your adventurous path. Not just doing it out of rebellion and mindless reaction and whatever, and then destroying your life and relationships and things like that. There's plenty of men live out that path of just kind of blind rebellion, right? But end up broken. Very much you can see broken men there. And on the other hand, there's men who, in order to be good and to be honorable, they give up their desire, they give up the adventure they really want to go on. They allow themselves to become domesticated and tamed.
It's not unlike the issues that we've been talking about these days. A lot of men wondering, they want to be in a say, committed relationship, whatever that commitment means, and then they have at the same time a sense of adventure, and they think it has to be either or, and if you do it right, you can have both. You can have both a great adventure, very committed relationship, and feel strong honor because of it.
Yeah, and we're trained for goodness from the time that we're kids in our homes. Be a good boy, a good son, a good Christian, Muslim, whatever, a good student, a good employee. And what is it to be good?
A good boyfriend.
What a good boyfriend. What is it to be good?
Pleasing to whatever the external authority tells you have to be.
Right? To follow the rules
Right.
of someone outside of you. Forget what you desire. Forget what you think is true. Forget the adventure that you're called to. Behave in a way that is pleasing to the others outside of you. And it's you're trained in it with punishment, reward, and propaganda.
Wow.
From the time that you are very, very small. Even infants these days. You know, the infant comes home from the hospital and it's wailing for its mother in the middle of the night. It's not being a bad kid. It's instinctual. Its mother, it's lived for its entire life of 9 months inside of the womb. And it wakes up and she's not there. Her heartbeat's not there. Her warmth isn't there. Her whatever. And he's like, I have a need for connection. And many parenting methods and ideas about parenting. It's like, no, you need to train that bad infant to be a good infant.
Right.
And get it ready for a life of being good and obedient.
And we're passive aggressive in a way, or aggressive with the love that we give to our children or not. Like the way I see parents fuck up a lot of the life of children I summarize it with the phrase, we love you, so don't disappoint us. We love you, so don't disappoint us. And this whole journey, I see it with so many men that I work with, is trying to please. We gotta please the external authority, mommy, or my parents, to get the love. And they bring it in relationships. I gotta please this woman for her to love me, Yeah. And so we're trained, like you say, to listen to an external authority as our guidance, because we want that love.
And the young kid full of life, he doesn't have those limits, so he just says the truth, and he says what he feels, and he runs this way and he climbs a tree or whatever.
Runs after girls.
Runs after girls. Yeah. Pulls down his pants and takes a pee on the sidewalk. You know, it's but these things are uncomfortable for the parent because it's affecting my image. What are people going to think about me as a parent that I'm allowing my child to just behave in whatever way? I remember I spent a couple of days with some indigenous people in Panama, like way up the river. And when we got there were little girls playing in this raging river, and there was no adults around, and it was like, you know, what's going on here? And the boys and the men were missing from the village the entire day. And it was only after nightfall that the boys came home. They'd been off playing together, hunting, doing whatever. And the men had been off working, hunting, doing whatever they're doing. But there was no sense that, like, we need to, those little girls out playing in the river, those little boys out there, somehow they need to be, they might embarrass the parents, or they might be doing something bad or that doesn't conform.
Right.
It's like all this training for years and years and years. And then you become an adult, right? And you're free to make your life on your own. Now you're like the whipped horse,
yes,
right? Who's been domesticated, trained, and then is like confronted with, like he's let outside of, finally, for once, without a bridle and a saddle, outside of the fence.
Yes.
And he's like, fuck.
It's like
he no longer trusts his instincts.
Or he is a polar bear in the zoo.
If he feels them at all.
He's been in the zoo his whole life, and now he's put in the wild. You know?
Yes.
I remember, because I'm in the business of seduction and relationships. I remember when I was 6 years old, I was at school, and it was this cute girl, Stephanie. If you're watching, Stephanie. And I remember just running after her because I was just so enamored by her. And I'm like, ah, and she would scream, you know, ah, you know, and I would still run after her. And she had this red bonnet, I still remember it, you know. And I would just, it was just.
By the way, that's still my method of picking up girls.
And I would run after her, and I would kiss her on the head, and I still remember her smell, you know. And it was so fantastic, you know. And I remember the next day, because to me it was beautiful, you know. And I remember the next day her mom would come, and her mom was also beautiful. I still remember this. And she would tell me, you know, huh, you cannot do that. It's wrong. And I remember like the contrast between like that felt so right, so fantastic. You know, and she would say it's wrong, and I'm like, I couldn't put it together. I'm like, huh? And it's those things that this training is everywhere, you know.
Yes.
And so you
and we start learning to distrust our inner guidance, whether that's our natural desire, or our call to adventure, or our call to be a hero for our people. You know, the call to honor. And we start. All of our attention becomes on how can I say the right thing in terms of what other people think is right? How can I do the right thing in terms of what other people think is right?
How can I protect my good image?
Yes. And it's, you know, to survive in society, to deal with the threat of punishment and the reward and the shame in society if you act outside of its boundaries. It's very understandable why...
Yeah. You could even say
why we learn to protect our image.
And you could even say society does a very good job, and people thinking, yeah, but otherwise society is not going to work. Yeah, you're probably right, but that's not the point. The point is that we stop listening to that internal guidance system, and that there is a lot more value in what that is trying to tell us, and where to go, and what's important to us, what makes us feel alive, what's true, what's virtuous. You know?